I wanted to make a video on my exact sales process that allows me to sell prospects from anywhere a minimum of $5,000 all the way up to $10,000 a month. What I notice most in the market is people don't price themselves high enough because they don't value their work high enough. Typically, they get stuck at about $2,000, $2,500 a month, and then they're just on this perpetual wheel of never being able to scale and really invest in their business. Most businesses really are freelancers with a couple guys that work for them. But in order to really build a business, you have to price yourself accurately to what the market is saying. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Where most of them kind of fall down is during the sales process. I want to share with you my sales process on how I go about that. So when I jump on a call with a prospect, there are a few key topics that I want to get across. And those are, the first thing is going to be the current state and the goal of the prospect. Then we have the problem and the challenge that they're currently suffering with. Then the decision-making side of things. So I actually want to break down what each of these different questions mean. When you first jump on a call with a prospect is you'll have your opening. My opening is usually, hey, after I look on their profiles, where they're from, maybe something about where they're from, whether they're from New York, what's the weather like, or they're from San Diego. Hey, I've been to San Diego, this and that. I'm from Vancouver, and the comment I always make is, oh, one thing people always say, it's one of the cleanest cities they've ever been to. I'll make some kind of joke, they'll laugh, I'll laugh, and they'll jump into my meeting. I kind of make it fun, kind of lighthearted in the beginning. Then I ask them probably the most important question of the entire meeting is, what prompted you to jump on this meeting? They'll say something like, saw your email, thought it was interesting, you could help us get leads, so I figured I'd jump on this call with you. And you did something similar for this other company, we know them, and I wanted to just see what you had there. This is the most important question. After that, you want to set the frame. You want to let them know, hey, I want to ask you a few questions to be able to see if we can work together and I am able to help you. If I can help you, we will book a follow-up call for a growth proposal, and I'll be able to share everything with you up from there, no strings attached. Once you do that, you want to figure out where they currently are in their business. For you to know where they currently are to where they want to go, if you want to get them to where they want to go, you have to accurately know where they are. So you have to ask a lot of invasive questions, right? A lot of people feel uncomfortable asking a lot of these questions because they feel like they're not qualified to ask this entrepreneur who runs a $5 million a year company when they might be a freelancer of these questions. But you got to keep in mind, they are here because you're an expert. They want to hear what you have to say. So you have to get over that little speed bump. That's one of the biggest things I notice, and really ask them the honest to tooth questions on where they are in their business. Some of the questions might look like, what are your main goals for the next 6 to 12 months? And how I usually ask it as, hey, if you were to look back 12 months from now, what would make you feel good about this relationship? Then they'll tell you what their goal is for your relationship if you do choose to move forward. What metrics are most important to you right now and why? This is huge. You have to know the things that they're measuring you on, even after you get into a business relationship with them. And when you know what metrics are important, you're able to craft the growth proposal very closely to what they're looking for and not talk about something completely irrelevant that you think is important, but they don't think is important. How are you currently spending your day? This is a big one. If you find out that they're spending 6 hours on lead generation, you could basically buy them back 5.5 hours. They'll still have to spend 30 minutes on just, checking your work and going over it, making sure you get the verbal thumbs up. And around how much revenue have you made in the last month and the last 12 months? This is extremely important. You cannot skip over this. I've never had pushback on this, but I've had friends say, well, what if they say, well, why are you asking me this question? Is to say, hey, look, here's where you want to go based on the first question that I ask you. I have to properly know exactly where you are right now so I could help bridge that gap. And they're usually okay with that. How many clients do you have right now? Again, some people might feel uncomfortable asking this question. You have to know these questions. So you got to make sure that they have enough revenue to even to work with you. Once you're done assessing their current state, now we want to go through the problems and challenges that they have in their business. So some of the questions that I might ask are, what's the one thing you need to get right in order to achieve these goals that you've outlined? What have you tried before? What worked and what didn't work? What's currently your biggest frustration and why in your business? Not getting enough leads, right? And you have to know this so then when you build up the growth proposal, you can make it very specific to their needs. What are the implications of not solving this? This is huge. What's the opportunity cost? So, Mr. Prospect, you saying you need 15 new leads a month. What if you don't get those leads? And this is where the fear component comes in. What's going to happen if they don't take action with you? If you're coming to the table and saying, hey, I have a solution for you, and they don't take action, where will they end up in 12 months? You really want to paint that picture for them. If you had a magic wand to be able to solve one thing in your business right now, what would that be? And ideally, you're the person that's solving that one thing for their business. And if we scroll down over here, decision making, what would success look like if we solve these problems? Fantastic question. Who else is involved in the decision-making process? If you're talking to a VP, the CEO might be involved in the decision-making process. And you want to make sure, the reason you ask this question is when you end the meeting, remember, the point of a meeting is to book another meeting. When you end the meeting, you want to make sure that their CEO is also able to jump on the call. What criteria will you use to be able to make your decision? And what are other competing initiatives exist? Maybe other offers that exist on the table. So the meeting will end, you'll say, hey, look, this is fantastic. This is all I need. Do you have any questions for me? Usually they'll say no, or they'll say, well, what does it cost? And you could just have a generic answer like, look, it costs anywhere from $50 for a PDF all the way up to a $50,000 implementation process. I don't know yet. I have to go to the drawing board and really build a growth proposal for you, and I'll be able to share that with you on our next call. Sounds good? Perfect. That usually alleviates any stress around what it would cost. And typically, if they're jumping on a call with you, they know it's going to cost something, and you'll know how many people work for them. You'll know what they typically pay for a marketing expert to be on their team, and you'll be able to price yourself accordingly. And then you end the meeting. Then you go to the drawing board and you build their growth proposal, and then it's time for you to deliver your growth proposal. And the growth proposal basically looks like this. So I'm going to zoom out right here quickly. Right? Now, I basically have a row on how I move along the sales process. But remember, the most important thing is the discovery call. If you get the discovery call right, this will be a cinch. So when you jump on a sales call with them, be like, hey, how you doing? And just get a quick little update on them, just quick small talk, and how's the weather, this and that, whatever. Once you do that, you want to let them know, hey, look, I scheduled an hour for this call. I don't have a hard stop after this. Do you? And they'll say something like yes or no, whatever the case is. If they have a hard stop, you could book another follow-up call. But sometimes they might not have a hard stop, and you want to continue on, answer all the questions that they have. Then you want to outline what you'll cover during this call and why they're jumping on a call with you. A lot of this is going to be a quick little recap of the discovery call that you've had. Then we want to move on to basically transitioned over into the recap of the discovery call, review their current challenges, discuss their business situation, and validate their desired outcome, and see if anything's changed in the last 72 hours since you've been on a call with them. Once you do that, my favorite part is where we get to present our growth proposal. This is where we share our solution on how we address their specific needs. We focus on the value and the outcomes rather than the features. They don't care that I have a 52 AI automation process to be able to get them leads. All they want to know is how can we book 15 calls with qualified prospects. That's all they want to know. Keep the presentation portion concise to allow time for discussion. Me personally, I like to take as much time as I need. That only on the things that are important to them. I have certain sections on my growth proposal just as a template, which I know are important. I just get rid of those things because I know it's not going to be relevant to the prospect. Only talk about the things that you discussed on your guys' growth proposal. Anything else, it's best if you just remove it. Now, handling pricing and commerce terms. So now this is important. This is where we have to outline the exact ROI that they would get. So if one client is worth $100,000 a year for them, and if you're able to get them 2 clients in 1 month, if you get them 10 meetings, they have a 20% close rate, you'll be able to get them 2 clients. That's worth $2,000 of the yearly contracted value for that prospect. Now, what is that prospect willing to pay for 2 prospects, basically, or 2 customers? And usually people are willing to pay 25% to get to market. That's an excellent number for them to kind of focus on. So here's what that means. If a prospect is worth $100,000, they would be willing to pay up to $25,000 to get that client into the pipeline. Now, they might have to go through 5 sales calls to be able to get that one client. So for each sales call, they would be willing to pay. So basically they have $25,000 they're willing to pay for that prospect, and they have to jump on 5 calls for that prospect, say a month, right? Just to make the math simple. So if you just divide it up on how much each call they would be willing to pay for each call, it would basically end up being $5,000. I know it's a lot, but you just got to understand most businesses operate this way. They're willing to pay 25% until they get to market, right? And you basically want to be prepared to explain your pricing structure, and you want to let them know all the things that they're getting. Instead of them going out individually buying all these different things like the list, the offers, the sales processes, they're getting it all within you as a partner in their company. So once you go through that, what the next step is, you want to book a follow-up. Even before you book a follow-up, you want to make sure you ask them all their questions. And my favorite close is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're not interested in this call at all, you want to hang up the call right away, or 10, you're ready to sign on the dotted line, where would you say you are? Now, if they say anything less than a 7, or even if they say anything less than an 8, they have some concerns, and you have to address those concerns right away. So this is something like, I'm probably about a 7. Well, Mr. Prospect, what would it get you? What would it take for me to get you from a 7 to an 8, maybe even a 9? Well, I'm a little concerned about the pricing, they'll say. And then you go back to the pricing table and you want to walk through the ROI again with them. Like you want to take your time and walking through the ROI. Once you do that, be like, does that answer any of your questions? Do you have any follow-up questions? Then they might start releasing a couple other questions that they might have. Once you do that, you basically want to ask for their business on the call. They might say something like, hey, I have to think this over, whatever. I would recommend pushing a couple of times because you want to show them that you're aggressive and how you're willing to fight for their business, how you're willing to fight for your own business, you're willing to fight for their business. You want to get a clear commitment on timing and actions, and then you want to send a follow-up loom. So once you get off the call with them, you want to send them over a Loom video reviewing the key points of your proposal. People really, really like this. It shows that you really care about their business. And you want to book a follow-up call for the purpose of once it's already in the calendar, now they have a countdown in their mind where they have to make a decision. And once you send over a follow-up Loom video, that really helps concrete their idea into their mind that you are the person that's best for this job. So anyways, this is my sales process. I know it's long, but it's extremely important that it's presented this way. The reason why is because it really helps you understand what's important for their business, and then you could deliver a really proper growth proposal with as much effort as you can. And the only way to get good at this is by practicing and reviewing. So do the work, review, iterate, do the work, review, iterate. That's what I found is the best strategy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.